All right, I'm excited. This day has finally come. We're at the Digital Shift, the launch of the Digital Shift event. So originally, we were planning to make this a huge event where it was going to be live, but we've made some changes to how the Digital Shift is going to be, and we're more focused on it being a group where we're still going to have experts in different areas of the digital marketing world be able to share strategic advice on how you're able to take your business online. So I'm excited to be launching this movement, launching this group. The Digital Shift is more than a series of talks. It's really about finding your path online. And I started this movement because, a few months ago, I noticed a lot of businesses were really struggling with trying to figure out this new world, the new world that we're currently in. With the COVID-19, most businesses that depended on foot traffic were really halted. And right now, they're just trying to figure out a new way to really build their business. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're probably looking to make some kind of digital shift of your own, some kind of adjustment to get your business online. And that's why we put this together. So a little bit about me. I'm Alex Brooks, the founder of a company called Entreprob. I'm the person who put this together, this event. What I do at my company, my day job, is what I like to call is personal touch engagement. All that means is we help companies really figure out the right message to the right person at the right time to really build long lasting relationships. And we just so happen to do that through email marketing and other channels of marketing. But that's a little bit about me. Today, I want to share a little bit about the agenda, what's going to be happening. So today we're going to start with some email marketing. I'm going to share some of my strategies on how to help you guys get results, uh, specifically with email marketing. And then from there, we're going to dive into some social media stuff. We're going to have Connor Kaysen from Find Me in Seattle. He's going to break down, how do you build a following? How do you tell your story through social media? And how do you tell your story through Instagram? Um, Tomorrow, we're going to dig a little deeper into the social media world and have Joshua Dirks from Project Bionic. And he's going to dig down, he's going to dig a little deeper into the strategic planning process of social media, how to build a framework and how to launch it across multiple platforms. Once we get that, once we wrap that part up, then we're going to shift over next to Diane Lamb, who is the founder of Anything Alley. And she's going to focus on how do you manage remote teams? How do you deal with the operation pieces of managing a team that's not in the same building as you? So I know a lot of you guys, all of us right now are working remotely. So for companies and professionals that aren't used to it, this time can be really difficult. But and that's actually why I wanted to bring on Diane Lamb to help businesses make that shift. Once we wrap up with that, we're going to, for anybody that's struggling with getting traffic, getting people to come to their website or learn more about them, we're going to shift gears and we're going to have Hike and Vlad, the founder of Logic Inbound, focus on some SEO stuff, SEO strategy, the technical piece to SEO. How do you break it down step by step and build a framework that gets you traffic to your website? And finally, on Friday, we're going to finish up with Trisha Kleppy of Davies and Dixon to break down, once you get all this traffic, how should you be telling your story? What should you say? What does your message look like that connects with your audience to get them to take action or take results? So just to recap, 3 days. Today is about email marketing, social media. Tomorrow we're going to touch on some operations stuff, as well as more social media in greater detail. And then Friday we're going to start breaking into more SEO, but we're going to finish up with some content strategy. How do you build a content piece that makes the most sense for you? Oh, and I almost forgot, and I'm glad I didn't forget this. There's another professional that will be joining us, John from A Small Studio. He is an expert in helping you build a brand. He's actually going to be speaking tomorrow and helping you understand how do you build your brand and tell your story and tell your story, embrace your voice, and connect with your audiences. So I'm super pumped about all the things that we have going on. It took a lot of work to get this put together, and right now a lot of the you guys may be extremely busy. I know I am. A lot of the professionals we try to get on board are extremely busy, so I'm very grateful that they are taking time to be able to connect with us and talk. And I am excited for you guys to be able to get this content, digest it, and be able to use it for your own. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, every morning expect to get an email from me just to share any updates if we have any changes to the schedule. Today we started a little later than we wanted to, but yeah. So first, let's see. The first thing I want to start with, it looks like we got some people joining us. So welcome, Christopher. So the first thing I want to start with is really breaking down the how to get results through email marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'll take you guys through a framework that I use personally for my team and for our clients to help them get results using email marketing. How do you leverage email marketing to get people to either buy, sign up for things, or make purchases in general? Let's see. All right.
Hey, Peter, can you turn off the video?
Yep. Go ahead and make sure you mute your background out as soon as you join. All right. So one of the first talks that we're going to go over today is just breaking down email marketing. And for anybody that's just coming on, email marketing is what I focus on. Next, we're going to have Connor from Find Me in Seattle go over some social media marketing pieces, like how do you build an influence. So as long as you guys can see my screen, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'll touch on this briefly, but I won't go into too much detail. Entrepreneur is the name of the company. We started back in 2017. We really focus on helping companies craft the right message to the right person at the right time. We just so happen to do that through email marketing. And what we call it is personal touch engagement. It's like our own secret sauce to doing things. But I'm going to skip some of this and just really jump into the presentation, because we'll have Connor coming up in less than 20 minutes and breaking down social media. But so the goal of this talk here is to really help you guys craft powerful emails that get people to take action. And that's signing up for things, appointments, or coming back to buy more products from you, or buy products for the first time. So email marketing, believe it or not, is still one of the most powerful marketing channels out there in terms of digital marketing. In fact, for every dollar that is invested, or for every dollar that is invested, you on average generate $40 for every dollar that is invested into email marketing. So it's really powerful, and that's when you use things right. There's no guarantee if you just throwing things together, you'll be able to optimize and get those type of results. So email is still king. One of the things I like to say about email is when you compare email to a lot of other channels, when you think about social media, they work hand in hand. Email is kind of like the stage where you get to own your list. Whereas when you're doing advertising and during the social media marketing. It's kind of like you're renting the list, but they work together very well hand in hand when used appropriately. So why do most businesses fail with email marketing? This may seem like an obvious, answer to this, and it actually is. The biggest reason that most companies fail with email marketing is they lack having the proper planning, and a framework that helps them consistently engage with their audience. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen why companies struggle with email marketing is they don't take the time to plan, and they don't have a structure or a framework for how they're putting together their emails. And that's what I want to talk about today is I want to give you guys, if you take anything away from this, I want you guys to be able to utilize the 6-step framework that helps me, craft powerful email campaigns, and also helps, our clients do the same. So the first one is, I wish that would load. I don't know why it's not loading. The first one is figure out the purpose of the email. And this may seem like something that's common sense, but a lot of times we move so fast when we're putting together things, we don't think about having a clear and concise purpose. For example, like with our retail clients, we're always looking for ways to drive sales, right? So currently, one of the things that we've done recently is we've helped some of our clients work on their, pushing out spring collections. If you're putting together an email to promote your latest spring collection, that email shouldn't talk about your latest spring collection and trying to get people to sign up for blogs and also asking people for feedback. You need to have a singular purpose for when what your email needs to focus on, or else one of the things I see that happens commonly is if you give somebody too many options to think about when they open the email, they get confused, and a lot of times they don't choose the right option that you want them to do within that email. Let's see. So this leads me to the next one is really knowing your target audience. Determining, you need to know everything you can about your target audience. You want to know what words they actually use when making decisions to purchase. What are some of the products that they're truly interested in? What are the things that they're really concerned about or afraid of? Once you have a good idea of the thoughts that your customers actually have when they are making those purchase decisions or thinking about making those purchase decisions, that stuff needs to be in your email copy. And if it isn't, and if it's words that your potential or your current customers don't use, then you want to reevaluate the content that you're putting into your email copy because it doesn't connect. Let's see. Okay. So if you don't have the understanding, or you don't have the lingo to how your customers think and how your customers talk, this is a very simple way to be able to learn that. Really, just having conversations, I was the easiest to get a sense of what are some of the things that they say when they're thinking of buying your product, or some of the things that they're concerned about. And I shared a few ways here that you do that. Online or in-person surveys is a great way to do it. Online sometimes can be a little more difficult because you have to convince them to take time to fill out a survey. But if you're willing and you're open to it, get on the phone or scheduling time to have some of your customers to your shop or come meet you online right now because of with COVID, having those discussions with them and asking, just straight up asking them, what made you want to buy this item? What was that made you not want to buy this item? Getting that stuff written down, if you don't already know that, can be a powerful, and you collect it and compound it over time, can be a powerful way to learn how to speak the lingo that your customers speak. This one I think is probably one of the most important components of an email in terms of what it should have within it in terms of the contents. You really need to determine how you want your audience to emotionally respond after reading your email. So the emotional response goal is important because it's connected to the human behavior. As much as you may hear customers say they make purchases based on logical decisions, it really is backwards. The customers or people usually make buying decisions based on their emotion, and they justify it later with logic. So whenever you're crafting the email, think about, how do you want them to feel by the end of them reading your email? Should they feel like there's a sense of urgency that they have to get something done right now, or feel something out right now? Should they feel excited that if they take advantage of this, they're going to get an opportunity that they may not ever get in the future? These are all just examples of the emotional response that you may want to pull from your customers. I think about right now with what's happening with COVID. So with COVID, one of the things I noticed, even with me personally, is when you hear some news about these, for example, in the subject line, it may say something along the lines of, these 3 symptoms may mean you have COVID, or something like that. When we first started to see those type of emails, it probably pulled out a certain emotion of being a little afraid and concerned, and it made you curious, where you had to see, right now I have allergies. Is some of the symptoms I'm feeling right now COVID, or is it just allergies? But my point is, whenever you're crafting your emails, you want to focus on, you want to think about what's the emotional response you want to get from that person by them reading your email. So that leads me to, I would say, emotional sponsor goal is very critical. The subject line is one of the most important components of any email, because if your subject line doesn't have a strong enough hook, or a strong enough relevant hook, then they'll never get a chance to see what's in the email. It's kind of like the saying, if somebody cuts a tree down, or a tree falls down in an empty forest, nobody hears. It's the same thing with email. So your subject line needs to be really compelling. And another piece, it just really needs to align with what is going to be in the body. Now, this example right here that you see, I posted this here because I've received emails like this, where in this example, the person in the subject line says something along the lines, "I think I left my coat at your house." Now you're thinking this is a friend or something like that, but when you open the email, is completely unrelated to, it's a sales pitch. Whenever you're crafting your emails, number one, make sure you're obviously putting together a subject line that is compelling to hook and grab people's attention, but never do like the click and bait type thing, where you have a subject line and then it's completely different from what's in the body. That's an easy way to get flagged as spam. And if you guys aren't familiar with the spam laws, for every all it takes is 1 out of 1,000 emails sent for you to get flagged as spam, and it can dramatically lower your deliverability rate to people's inbox. So all that means is you'll start sending more stuff, and it'll start going to the junk mail for more people. So always, if you get anything from this point, is make sure your subject is consistent with the message that you have in the body, and always spend time to focus on having something that is compelling within your subject line that grabs people's attention. Now, digging a little deeper into the subject line, one of the things that I am a fan of is always testing everything that you do. So here, I'm going to do a little exercise with you guys, and you don't have to answer or raise your hand or anything like that. So we have subject A and we have subject B. If you want, you can go ahead and type in which one do you think will get the higher open rates? I'd love to hear from you guys. So just take a second. You don't have to type in there if you don't want. Just think about which one you think would be the right answer. So for the ones that chose subject A, you guys are right. So I'll tell you part of the reason why this one is a little more powerful than subject A. Than subject B. It has it, and this goes back to the emotional power word. So the word "you" in itself is a word that pulls out emotion. Anytime that you're putting together your content in your email, using "you" over "I" or over "we" can be more powerful because it's getting the user or the reader to think about how this can benefit them. It's making it about them. So that has a little bit of more of an impact with the subject line for A versus B. So one of the things that I'm going to do for you guys, and I told you guys this would be a pretty brief presentation because I want to get prepared for Connor to jump on, is I'll share with you guys. There's going to be 180 plus power words that I think will be really powerful for you guys to be able to use in your content. And this is just kind of a snippet or a sample of this. So that's pretty much it. Just to recap, we went over a 6-step framework. So step one is really figuring out the purpose of your email. Whatever email you plan to send out, think about, what's the intended goal or what is this email supposed to do? Is it supposed to make them think, feel, or do a certain thing? And be very clear about that. And I always recommend, have one clear objective. Don't give people multiple objectives in one email because it's easy to confuse people. We're all limited with time, so it's hard for us to be able to sit and sift through an email and make a decision on what we want. It's easier when you make it easy or you make it simple and you tell people exactly what you want them to do. Like click here to sign up for this, or book, click this button to schedule an appointment, or buy now, this is on sale. So, make sure that you're clear on your purpose before you draft any email. Step number 2 is pretty straightforward. Know your target audience. Understand what are some of the words that they actually use in their dialogue when they think about your product or think about buying it, and start tying that into your messaging. And if you don't currently have that, spend some time just getting on the phone or scheduling a Zoom call with your current customers and ask them questions about what made you want to buy this, or why did you buy this, or what pushed you away from buying it. Learning those things and how people actually talk will really help you down the road. Number 3, emotional response goal. By the end of them reading your email, they should feel what? Should they feel concerned? Should they feel excited? Should they feel a sense of urgency in terms of that they have to get something done right away? Always have an emotional response goal for every email or campaign that you're sending out. And then 4, align your message with the subject line. And additionally, like I said, is make sure that your subject line is compelling. But making sure that your subject line is consistent with what you're going to talk about in the body is just a simple way to make sure that you can build trust with your audience or with your user, and it helps you avoid being flagged as spam as well. And then testing your subject line. So I do have a few tools that once this wraps up, I'll post this in the Facebook group that you can use to be able to test your subject line and see what is most effective. But anytime that you put together like a campaign and there's 3 or 4 emails, take time to test out those subject lines. Use the tools that I'll share with you guys to be able to pull that off. And then the last one is just using words that bring power and emotion into your subject line, but also just throughout your content. And that's pretty much it for the people who are online that don't know me. This is the easy way to get in touch with me. Alex B at Entreprov, and then that's my phone number. Um, so I'll leave that up for a moment. But is there any questions that you guys have before we transition into the next speaker? And I'll stop sharing my screen for a bit. Let's see. Oh yeah, will I be sharing the power words and the slides? I will. All this stuff I'm going to be sharing in the Facebook group. So this is also, to add to that, this is going to be recorded and it's going to be posted on the Facebook Live. So all the presentations that we have moving forward will be shared once we clean them up and make sure that they are, the way they're supposed to be. I guess we got a few minutes before Connor comes. I'll open it up. Christopher, it's great to have you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just just taking it all in, seeing what you guys do as far as the marketing and taking a few tips. Obviously, there's a huge shift towards digital, so whatever I can glean would be fantastic. So
Yeah, and I'm first of all, I'm glad you were able to make it. We decided to make the group really small and intimate, but the content we're going to be putting together over the next couple of days will be good. Like I'm doing obviously the email marketing. Connor's coming on right now, and he's going to be doing social media. We're going to have somebody that also focuses on the SEO part, both the technical part and kind of the creative side of it. And then we plan to have some people focus on content strategy. So each day we will have a different expert focus on different areas. But what we plan to do beyond that is we plan to just have this group as a kind of a resource where I'm allowing certain professionals from specific areas, some of the areas that I mentioned, jump on and be able to share some of their expertise. So it'll be a good resource group for anybody who's really trying to make this digital shift.
no, absolutely. I think having a team that I turn to, I'm going to be launching a new business here fairly soon, which will be really incorporating a lot of what you creators are doing in the way of digital. It's like, I know Josh, I know Vlad, I've done a couple things with them, so I wanted to support them as well. But I think that's huge, is having kind of just resources in the communities and people that are in the pocket, so that it just keeps you on your game and tied in with the community for sure. So I'm all about it.
Absolutely. Well, cool. I'm glad you were able to jump on.
I didn't realize I had my clip on. Sorry. Yeah.
It's all good. Hey, Connor.
Yeah.
Looks like Connor made it. Hey, welcome, Connor.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, good to see you all.
So first of all, I want to introduce you guys to Connor. So if you are not following Connor right now, definitely, take your phone out and go follow, this guy. Connor, is the founder of Find Me in Seattle. And if you are trying to I think about the Anthony Bourdain, but then for the local Seattle area. I've never seen somebody throughout this area, tell stories how he does through images, video about food. He's built an incredible following on Instagram, telling stories about food and experiences. And he's really just made a name for himself throughout the community. And, before COVID-19 hit, he actually started expanding his brand to Thailand to basically do the same in Bangkok. So there's a Find Me in Bangkok. I'm hoping as things open back up that, he continues to do more with that. He knows how to get attention. He knows how to build a following on social media. So I'm really excited to have him on here. So Connor, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here for the start of the summit.
Yep.
And related to Bangkok, I was there in March, which was crazy. I was there for my wedding, and my wedding was on March 19th. So like Seattle had already shut down, and to see the differences that were happening in Asia versus what was happening in the United States, I mean, it was just very eye-opening to see how COVID-19 has affected everyone around the world and how different countries prioritize public health and how it operated completely different. And the Find Me in Bangkok was just a complete experiment, because I get asked every so often, like, oh, when are you going to do Find Me in Portland or Find Me in Vancouver, Find Me in LA, all these other cities. And I'm nowhere close to even starting something like that, but it was fun. The plan was to go to Bangkok for a month, and I just kind of did like this slight rebrand to focus on where I was and still documenting what I do every day, because the entire goal of what I do on social media is really to market myself as a person, really, and show off the city and help make me have a voice for the city and share my experience of different people, places, things, ideas around Seattle, and how other people can spend their money in specific ways to support local businesses and have unique experiences that don't include Starbucks or kind of the typical Seattle recommendations. And so, today, I appreciate you guys being here. I was going to focus more on some of the strategies that I recommend to growing early and how do you attract people. What I really focus on is how to engage with people and network with people through social media within a geographic range. So for Aaron, I know you have your chocolate business down there in Pike Place Market. And Christopher, since you're here, what's your business and what do you focus on?
I work with companies around engagement. It's all about, I think we've become transactional in nature. And I think that if we slow down, do things better, kind of understand there's a human element involved, I think we can kind of resonate with our clients better, customers, employees, and be more effective. I think there's a higher ROI in doing so. So I'm working with a couple startups. I am doing a couple of diversity inclusion panels. It's cross board, marketing to strategies to all kinds of stuff. But I very much tap into the digital marketing side for sure.
Okay, yeah, and I think moving forward, voices inside companies are so important. I think that's one of the things that gets missed a lot on social media is we don't have enough people talking through the camera, right? Whether that's sharing their stories, just like holding their selfie and talking to it and sharing through that way, or doing interviews with employees and really like helping spread that message internally and externally by focusing on people. That's something that I think I've learned a lot, where I'm always telling stories about businesses or experiences or places, but it's always through my lens, right? So you're experiencing it through me, and I try to show it in a way as like, this is exactly what I experienced. A lot of times what I see, Instagram has got this brand now about like the Instagram life, right? Everything needs to be perfect, and the lighting needs to be right, and it needs to look like a supermodel. Especially, I post a lot of food. People always get stuck like, oh, the picture needs to be perfect, right? Or the person needs to look perfect. And I'm hoping that the narrative is starting to shift there. It needs to be so much more authentic, right? It needs to be about what you're really going to see. So like when I take pictures of food, it's really interesting to watch. I'll see Instagrammers take the food and walk outside of the restaurant and like set the food on the sidewalk so they can take the perfect lighting picture. I've never really been about that. I've always just been about like, I want to take this picture quick, show off what my experience is like, and then I want to get to eating, right? And enjoying the physical space that I'm in or the people that I'm with. And it's really interesting to see just how different people have different perspectives on that. And on that note, I think it's important. People get too caught up, I think, sometimes in like creating the perfect Instagram post, right? Like I was helping someone this morning and they're starting a brand new Instagram account and they're stressing about my first post, right? And what I was telling them, I was like, yes, the first post matters, and I'm glad that you're thinking about it, but don't forget that in 10 days, you're going to have maybe 10 to 20 more posts there. And then that first post like really doesn't matter at all, right? And so I think people get really caught up in like this post really matters, but in the long run, the story arc of all of your posts and kind of taking people on a long-term journey is a lot more impactful than like that one individual post. Now, there is the other side of the argument. If you're going to be putting an advertising budget into however you want to direct people, or if it's a very important message that you want to get out there, obviously you want to put the time and curate the perfect message because that individual one is important. But I do like to not get so caught up on every single individual post and just remember, like, you want to post today, but you get another shot tomorrow. So sometimes that post, people are going to like it, or the timing was wrong and people didn't see it, or, something else was going on that was more important. But just be thinking about, all right, tomorrow we're going to post again and keep getting that attention. But the cornerstone of what I want to talk about today was how to engage with people and find new customers without spending money. It does take a time investment, but that's really, and this works on lots of different platforms, and it's related to building your community within the hashtags, right? And where are the groups and where are the customers that you're looking for on social media? So I use Instagram because I think Instagram search is one of the best places to build those communities because hashtags are used very consistently. Twitter is another good place, but Twitter's hashtag system is all over the place. There's not as many people who are constantly tweeting every day about the same thing, but on Instagram, you see that a lot. Like, I'm part of Seattle Foodies, right? If I use hashtag Seattle Foodies, there's people who post about that every single day, and you'll see that hashtag in all of their different posts. And so how I've been able to grow and use the tool as a networking tool is I give the analogy of selling door to door or going to a networking event, right? When we're allowed to physically be with each other, you go to a networking event, you might have your pocket full of business cards, and you walk around the room and you shake people's hands and say hello, introduce yourself, have some small talk. What do you do? This is what I do. Really great meeting you. Here's my card. Let's connect later and continue this conversation. I'm going to go meet, the next person standing to your right. And you do this like speed dating, right? And you're always talking with all these different people. And that works. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's also extremely time consuming, sometimes financial investment as well to get involved with that. So what I recommend, especially now that we're all sitting on our couch, is search by using hashtags or whatever search criteria that you want where your audience lives, and go and engage with all those different people. So like Erin, if Erin wanted to find people who engaged in chocolate or go create her own chocolate conference, what I would do is I would go on Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook, and I would go to the search and just type in hashtag chocolate lovers or Seattle chocolate, or obviously that's a company, so that one's a little tough. Even go into the locations of maybe competitors, right? So like Erin knows that all these people know about Theo's chocolate, right? And Theo's chocolate's kind of a destination. And so anyone that's going to Theo's chocolate, Erin, are probably also visiting Pike Place Market at some point in that process. So why not kind of try to engage with some of those people to say, hey, when you come to Pike Place Market, you should also come check myself out, especially if you've picked up this extra chocolate knowledge. That just even helps you more, right? Because then they might show up to yours and be, and like it more or spend more time there. There's always a new chance to get a customer. And so by going into their location tag and seeing everyone who's posted at Theo's chocolate, and then just engaging with all of those individuals. Obviously, that's a time investment. You got to go shake all those hands, but it's not money spent. Obviously, time has a currency as well. And so going into that location tag, finding the first person and saying, oh, that's Samantha G. What's Samantha G about? She is from Portland. She's really into chocolate. She also really loves coffee, right? She's got a dog, and maybe she's got 2 kids. All of a sudden, you know so much about her, right? And you like a couple of her photos, you might follow her, you might leave a comment on one of her pictures, and that becomes the easiest handshake that you could ever have, right? Because now what's going to happen is Samantha, when she opens up her Instagram account, whether it's tomorrow or next week, the first place she's going to go is that notification panel, because anyone who's actively engaged on Instagram or any social platform for that matter is addicted to their notification panel. It's pretty much the first thing you look at, whether you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or TikTok. It doesn't really matter. They make sure that you notice it. So you click on that, and then by commenting and liking on a bunch of their photos and even following them, you've taken up all of that real estate on that notification page. And now they can't help but to at least look at you, right? So without kind of interrupting their time, you have walked up and you said, "Hi, my name's Aaron," right? "And I have a chocolate company," right? And then they're going to go, "All right, who's this person that just, blew me up on Instagram?" They're going to click on your profile, and they're going to look at your bio. They might click on your link. They'll look at all your photos, and now they're going to make their judgments. Do I like this person? Do I not like this person? Am I interested in what they have to say? And then if they follow back, or maybe they respond to a comment, that's when they've given you the open door to continue the conversation there, right? So Aaron's got a brick and mortar restaurant, or not restaurant, I'm sorry, but space. And so when people come in, you always greet them. "Hi, how you doing? Welcome. Can we answer any questions?" You're doing the exact same thing online, right? Once they open the door and they say hello, then you're engaging in conversation in whatever. Can we help you with questions? What do you know about chocolate? What do you not know? What do you want to know? What places have you visited? Can I help, right? You're just like providing that same customer service, so then they become a fan, right? And so now that you've got them interested, you've got them following, you've had them engaged, so you've also hacked the Instagram algorithm so that next time you post, you're more likely to show up on their screen, right? Because the more engagement you get with a person on your content, Instagram goes, "Oh, Connor is very interested in what they have to say, so we're going to make sure that we try to get that content in front of you," right? And keeping that engagement is just so important to have them keep seeing you over and over again. So that's when, now you've got their attention, that's when you start thinking about, like, all right, what content can I create to continue getting their attention, their interest, and get them eventually to come in and be a customer. Obviously, Aaron, you've got an interesting mix of tourists and locals that you want to play with. So you want to play with engaging with people not only in the local hashtags, right? If it's just hashtag Seattle foodie or Seattle chocolate, but also play in the big chocolate sphere, right? Chocolatiers or chocolate of IG. I'm sure there's tons of different little communities there that hopefully you, or eventually you'll be more knowledgeable about those online communities than I would. But continuing that engagement and getting involved in those communities is really helpful. And then when you find those hashtags that you really like, right, or you see that people are really engaged, then you want to continue putting those hashtags in your posts, and then occasionally go back into those hashtags and re-engage with all of those people. Even if it's something basic as going into the hashtag, going to the most recent timeline, and just quickly liking all of those photos, it becomes a really easy way to market yourself. And why I say, as a business, to constantly be engaging on the platform. Like when I open up my Instagram account, I pretty much just start liking everything. Like if I'm swiping through, I'm just liking everything. It's ruining my personal algorithm. But as a business, I'm not really thinking about the timeline. I'm not going to the timeline for anything except market the whole time, to market and to network. If you're really worried about your timeline, I would say create a personal profile and curate your timeline on that one, right? Or your close friends. But when it comes to your business, you just want to make sure your name shows up as much as possible. And so why I'm always liking everybody's photos is because that notification panel shows up, right? Because every time people get notifications on their Instagram or their Twitter, your name shows up. Right? So they're just never going to be, they're not going to forget about Indie Chocolate or Find Me in Seattle. They're just going to constantly be seeing it, which gets more chances for them to become a customer. And it's not the easy process. I'll put it that way, right? I would say if you need it to be easier, investing dollars into the advertising platform is the number one thing. But when it comes to building a community and getting those true fans, I think engagement is the number one thing to do, right? Especially early on, because it's difficult now. There's so much content on these platforms that you can't just have the viral moment that everybody wishes. It's just too competitive at this point. So consistently being there, engaging, and getting to know the customers or getting to know your audience or the community members is the best way to find out, or best way to build that following. And as you start building up and you start meeting these people and you're seeing they starting to engage, then you can use stories, you can use all the different tools that Instagram provides to learn more about what they want. Something that enough people don't do enough of is just putting themselves out there and asking, right? And talking and sharing all their knowledge. So like, Chris or Christopher, sorry, I wasn't sure which one it is. But is it Chris or Christopher?
It's Christopher. It's either.
Christopher,
but...
okay. So like with Christopher, even if it was something for internal dialogue that you want between the companies, just having basic videos of people talking, sharing their experiences, sharing their stories, I think is very easy or interesting to spread around. Like I don't think enough companies use social media in a way to introduce them to the rest of the organization, right? Like especially in the large organizations, if there's 100 employees, right? Every single one of them have an interesting story to share. So just posting their story, even if it's like a 1 minute, like, hi, I'm Connor and I joined the company 3 years ago and I got 2 dogs and I love to go biking, right? It's something that's really small that you can put out there. And obviously that doesn't need to be public information, but taking advantage of the ease to create content and distributing it is just a great way to build community and get people to know each other.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of like the quick rundown of things that I have related to like how to start building an audience and engaging with people. And really it comes down to thinking about how the search tools on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn can help you identify members of the community or potential customers. And then by following and continually engaging with them, sending them messages, that's how you can kind of work them into the customer pipeline. And so I was curious if any of you guys had any questions or anything specific about how to apply that to your business.
I had a question for you. So one of the things that, you know, a lot of social media people, I mean, not social media people, but a lot of companies try to do is they start and they just try to pick 3 or 4 platforms at a time. What are your thoughts on if you're just starting out, or with a lot of companies right now, they are starting to make a shift where they got to figure out social media. What do you recommend in terms of starting out?
That question really depends on what your resource capacity is to make that investment. If you're a single person and you're the business owner and you're trying to do the social media thing, which is a big task, what I always recommend is you've got to pick one platform to start, because all of this just seems so overwhelming and every platform's so different, right? Like the difference between TikTok and Instagram don't seem that big, but when you start to dive into the platform, you're like, whoa, these are 2 completely different platforms on how people engage and how the creative is implemented. If you're playing on both, it's going to become very overwhelming and it's going to become a lot of work quickly. So what I always say, especially if this is the first start, is choose one platform, and there's almost no wrong answer to which platform at this point. Obviously, your customer base is really going to determine where you want to be. If you're looking at a business base, LinkedIn is a place that you want to prioritize. Facebook is definitely an older demographic now. Instagram is the most popular place to be, in my opinion, and broad. And then Twitter is like very niche, right? Like if you are talking about things that are happening in live time, whether that's sports or events, Twitter is a great place to be because that's a lot where the community goes. I personally think that Twitter is the most difficult place to be because it's an extreme amount of noise and an extreme amount of emotion evolved, and expressing yourself in 150 characters is very, very difficult to do that well. But the platform, you're going to find community members on all of those. It really doesn't matter. It's just about picking one, and that's where you need to start. And then once you develop a process on like, how do I achieve the best results I can on one, then you can start mixing in the other platforms, right? So if Instagram is the place that you want to go, what I always tell anyone who's starting on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or LinkedIn is do a 30-day challenge, do 30 posts in 30 days. And that is a really good way to really give yourself breath to experiment and learn and fail and have some success and really like figure out where that winding road ends, so then you can create a really strong process to keep moving forward. And I promise, if you post 30 times in 30 days, you're going to learn a lot about what people want and what people don't want, what kind of captions work, what kind of hashtags work, do photos work better than videos, and where are those community members. And then you'll have a system to, now it's like, okay, now I can start working with the schedulers, right? Or if I'm posting about an event going on, or I want to promote an event coming up, I know how to work that into my messaging a little bit better. And same thing with LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Twitter's the only one where I would say that's kind of a totally different beast. You should be tweeting like multiple times a day and engaging within all of those communities. But to how this presentation started, the search, finding your community members and engaging with those people are all the same, no matter what platform you're on.
That's powerful. It's funny that you said 30-day challenge. I kind of unintentionally did that. Back in May, I did 30 videos where I posted online. I actually saw exactly what you just said. 30 days, I did something called the COVID Entrepreneur Life, and every day I did a video and I posted. At the beginning, it was tough just because just trying to get your systems, down pat and organized. But after I got comfortable with the technology, it became pretty easy. But I did see the results. I saw a question on here that I wanted to. It looks like Aaron asked, TikTok. I haven't really dug into TikTok, but the question is, can you talk a bit about TikTok demographics and selling it through the media?
Yeah, so the demographics that I'm only familiar with go up until like December 2019. I haven't seen the demographics in the last 6 months because I guarantee they've changed since we've had the COVID-19 shutdown. I mean, so many people have flocked to that platform, from celebrities to the casual watcher. And TikTok is the most addicting social platform that I've seen thus far, because it takes engagement and activity and creation to another level. Something I haven't seen since Vine. Vine was also very creative. But what's interesting about TikTok is all about audio memes, which is very interesting. It's the first place that has taken the audio clips and made that the viral moment. And then how can as many people as possible take the audio clip and integrate it into their own visual creative, which is really fun. And so if you have something that is unique with an audio base, it's a great place to be. I mean, if you're a musician right now and you're not creating for TikTok, you're falling behind, because you can put all of your music on TikTok. And that's how so many of the Billboard 100 songs right now started on TikTok. That's how, I'm blanking on his name, the Old Town Road. That's how that became the biggest song in the world. He was just making all of these different TikTok memes, and then people were taking the song and putting it into their own visual creative, and that just grew the popularity of the song so much. And so many of these songs that are coming out right now are having viral moments on TikTok first, and then they're coming into the mainstream media. But as far as selling through this media, education is still the number one thing. And this works on any platform. So like for Aaron, because I'm familiar with your product, if you wanted to go to TikTok, you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about, I got to do a dance or do a song, because the platform's starting to grow so much. What I would do is I would take your knowledge base that you have for chocolate, and I would just try to get as much of that knowledge out in as many pieces of content as you can, right? Even if it's like, I've got one chocolate fact per day, and if you're going to do the 30-day challenge, like, all right, I'm going to do 30, like, how-tos when it comes to chocolate, whether that's the tasting process or the creation process or going down to sourcing where cocoa beans come from. There's so many little pieces. And over that 30-day period, you're going to find out, oh, people really like this type of education, right? They like the history of how we got to loving chocolate, right? Or they love the education about like Hershey. Everyone knows about Hershey chocolate, right? But like, this is the new type of chocolate, right? This is what you really want to be looking for. All of those different educational pieces still work. It's just a matter of figuring out how do I design the visual creative to keep people's attention. And then the one other thing that's interesting about TikTok, which Facebook and Instagram have not been able to do, is they're putting a big focus on your geographic location, right? And so they had these viral memes that were here in Washington. It was an audio clip that just said Washington check, right? And so it was people talking about things going on in Washington, whether it was like, oh, here's Tacoma and the Tacoma Dome and history about our city, or, hey, I'm just checking in on, do any of you guys live around me? And then TikTok was taking that content and making sure they were showing it to anyone in the state of Washington. And so that has been an interesting method to market to people nearby. But as far as selling, I think it's still kind of difficult, right? I think TikTok right now is so much more of a brand builder, as in Aaron is the chocolate expert on TikTok. That's what you want to go for. And then because you become the expert and people know you and you create interesting videos, they're going to find out about Indie Chocolate, and whether that's order through your website or buying a t-shirt or coming visit you at Pike Place Market, that all kind of gets found out eventually. But I would focus on saying, hey, we're the experts for chocolate, no matter where in the world you live. And then that will rise up to eventually be sales. But if you need to sell things now, right, you're trying to ship chocolate bars to people, I would say Instagram and Facebook are the better short-term platforms to be on.
Thank you. That's really helpful. That's kind of was my feeling, but it's nice to have that confirmation. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you for sharing that. So one of the things you're saying is a lot of the social media platforms, it's important to connect with your audience, share your story, and focus on the entertainment piece. And then by chance of them associating with you, if they're interested, then you can build relationships and convert people to customers versus trying to push sell.
Yeah, I think businesses try to sell way too much. And I see this a lot with real estate, right? Real estate has in the past been about like, let me put my face on the bus stop bench, right, with all my information and the house. But the way that all these mediums are changing, you have to change the way the creative comes off to sell the house. But I always say use social media to build brand and build your expertise. Use the ads platform to sell the products, right? Because too many people, we're all so used to being sold to all the time that the second we see that the sales pitch, we're just swiping right away, right? But if you become, Bill Nye the Science Guy, then people really trust you. So then when you mix in the product, then it becomes really easy. Like for Erin, right? She just needs to be the chocolate expert. And then her product is going to work into that messaging very easily, because now as you're educating people with chocolate, the brand is right there on the screen, right? Or you're saying, hey, I got this chocolate from here, or I'm using, this milk for a latte and I'm using the chocolate, right? There's lots of different ways to work the product into the messaging by being educational and being entertaining, right? Just like how movies are always trying to sell the spot for their cell phone, or like billboards in the background, or the can of Coke that they're drinking, you can work products into your education really easily.
Yeah, one of the things I'm learning a lot is it's about the story. The story that
Yes.
you're telling. You can always, if you have good stories, you can always tie a product into a story. And people never get tired of stories, but they definitely get tired of somebody selling a product. Yeah, no, I love it. I know we only have a few more minutes left, and I know Curtis, you just joined. Do you have any questions or anything that's looming over your head that you're trying to think through?
No, we're not right now, but I really appreciate the information. That was good stuff.
Yep. And just to let everybody know, as we wrap this up, I am recording this, so it will be posted in the Facebook group later today as soon as we get to like cleaning everything up. So you'll have the resources. And I know you weren't here earlier, but I did a quick talk on email marketing and a simple framework. So I'm going to post all that information in there as well, and you guys will have access to it, including the slide decks that I put together.
Have you got time for another question? I got one for Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm a big believer, I do that. Like I think social people buy people off social, and then the ads are where they buy the product, right? But I see a lot of pressure, and I get this a lot, where people they know they need to be on social, and they don't really know how, so they just do what they see other people doing, right? That's a big trend that I see, businesses do. How do you help them, or what advice would you give somebody to be able to find their own really authentic way of positioning themselves? I know it's going to be very broad, but like some very high level things to really make it really authentic to them and not just being an additional voice on all the noise.
Yeah, it's very easy when you're scrolling through just to see, Johnny is doing this and it's really working for him. Like, I've got to copy that. I really think it comes down to creating more content, right? Like, it's really putting the pedal to the metal and doing it over and over and over again, and really getting comfortable taking your phone and talking to your phone and working on that messaging, right? And everyone gets really critical on their one post, but you're going to have to do 100 to 1,000 different little pieces to really like understand what you need to say and what you want to say and what's going to connect best. Mm-hmm. And so obviously you need to draw a line and make sure you're staying within brand and not putting yourself out there too far. But I just think it comes down to practice. Right? It's taken me a long time just to get comfortable holding the phone and sitting in a restaurant and talking to my phone while all these people stare at me, right? Or like I carry around a little light so I can take photos of my food in dark restaurants. It took me a long time to just get comfortable with like, I don't care what that guy over there thinks, right? I'm going to turn the light on and it's going to light up my plate and take a photo. And I've been called out a bunch of times, right? It's like, what are you doing? Like, eat your food. But it's, I think it just comes down to getting comfortable with yourself and understanding like it's okay that however I look, right, isn't as important as the things that I'm saying. And I think, even if it's just practicing and holding your phone up and talking to your camera, I think a lot of people like on Instagram, they try to do the live thing, like record it directly into Instagram. What I do is I just film it on my camera. I film everything on the camera roll first, and then I watch it and I go, is this what I want to say? Is this how, all right, I'll re-record it, right? And I want to message it in a different way so I can explain and put my words out there in the correct way. And putting that practice, but also having that filter of putting it on my camera roll first and then uploading it to Instagram has helped me a lot, like listen to myself and just improve that messaging and how I speak to the camera. Did that help, or were you looking for something else in that question?
No, I think it was good. Just getting people to kind of fill out who they are and what their messaging is. I think practice helps them kind of redefine that. Kind of a second question, I guess, because you brought it up as well. But you're seeing a huge shift to live, right? I mean, everything's going to live events. Have you seen much? Because I'm always kind of leery, as like as far as being able to capture the people that on their schedule are they going to be able to make it, reposting it. Is there much of value that you see that comes from doing things live versus having it pre-done? And
I have mixed feelings about the live because right now we're getting a lot of focus on it because of the current environment, right? And the lack of live entertainment kind of has opened up that space. But just like what we're doing here with what Alex is doing, way more people are going to watch this on the Facebook group than are here right now, right? And so it's nice to have that engagement. I think the best place on where you implement live is if other people get to chime in and ask questions and be part of that narrative, right? Just like that's the benefit of having live events is the Q&A part, right? Where people get to see your face and engage with you in live time. Otherwise, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So many people, I think the convenience of being able to watch it on your own time is far more important, right? Like being able to catch someone on live TV, like it just doesn't happen anymore, right? 20, 30 years ago, TV was all about that, right? You marked your calendars, you canceled all your schedule. You're like, I have to watch the show at 7 o'clock because I'll never be able to watch it again. But now we're so used to when I exercise, that's when I want to listen to the podcast or I want to watch the video, or I'm cleaning my house or I'm doing the dishes. There's other times where people want to consume. And so I don't think the live is as important unless you want to have Q&A or some type of cross engagement right now. I think it's actually more important to have it honed down to be specific, to let the people watch it when they want to watch it. But that's what is important. Podcasts are really easy to produce right now. Like if you're producing videos, you can just rip that audio right out and publish it as a podcast, right? And so now you're diversifying the opportunities for people to engage, right? They might not be a YouTube video watcher, but they listen to podcasts every day while they're in their car if they're commuting to work. And so finding out the best ways to maximize the places that you can have that exposure and letting people in. But yeah, I would say live isn't as important as maybe you think it would be. Publishing it later is where you're going to get more views.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So it looks like thank you for all the great questions. And first of all, thank you, Connor, for jumping on with us. We're going to wrap up, but all this content. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question. Connor, can you talk a little bit about, you talk about podcasts. Can you talk a little bit about like the importance of a podcast as far as a visual versus a video, and kind of what the differences are as far as audiences and how that's kind of gobbled up in the media of today?
Yeah, I think that also comes down to resources and what you're willing to produce and how long that takes. But I use an app called Anchor.fm. If you want to start a podcast, I mean, all you have to do, you plug in your headphones, you record it straight to the app, and it'll publish it to iTunes, to Spotify, to everywhere for you, all for free. It's very, very simple. And so it's just a matter of what platform you want to be on, right? For you, Aaron, you have so much that you can benefit from the visual, right? And so doing the video will have a lot more expanding benefit. But if you just want to talk, because the video is a whole nother side of production and work to do. If you just had ideas and thoughts that you want to put out there, you want to have guests and have conversations, then you could easily just start to publish a podcast. And even if it was short tidbits, right? Here's my 1-minute tip of the day about how to prepare chocolate, or tasting, right? I think tastings have a unique aspect that you could do with podcasts. Also with a product later on, right? Where you're shipping people chocolate and they're listening while they're tasting. There's something really interesting that could go there. But yeah, just like social media, it really comes down to like, what are you really willing to commit to in creating? That like, it really doesn't matter which platform you do. It comes down to how much resource are you going to put towards that. If you do video, you can make the podcast really easy. That would be my one recommendation, because you can just take the audio and put it out there. But the podcast, way less barrier to entry, and you could just start and be recording something really quick and publishing it.
I love it. Does that answer your the how frequently should a podcast be done as well, or Aaron?
No, that's another question. Yeah.
So how frequently? I mean, as much as you can, right?
Is there a minimum? Like you should do it at least once a month or once a week, or?
I think you should do it once a week, because people who regularly listen to podcasts, they're gonna expect that. Once a month, like it's just like there's no cadence to that, right? There's no like rhythm that I can really get into. You're not going to be able to like build this engaged audience unless you just say something extremely profound, right? Or it's like a month long. What I would do is I would either be thinking about daily or thinking about weekly, right? And if you're doing daily, think about it as like, how easy can I make this, right? What's my one tip of the day? What's something really simple? How can I check in with people? Do I want to give people a rundown of what's going on in the chocolate industry? Is it news-based? Obviously, it can get overwhelming, but if you're doing it in a day, you can say, hey, I have 30 minutes. It's going to take me 5 minutes to record. I'm going to write a quick description and publish it. I would bet you could do that. You could do a 30-day challenge with that and spend less time than you would doing a 30-day Instagram challenge.
Okay.
Wow.
That helps.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing the insight. And Aaron, you asked some really good questions. I'm glad you put those out there.
Oh, you guys are rock stars. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm first of all, thank you, Connor, for jumping on and kind of breaking down the framework for social media for us. So the best way to get in touch with Connor, you can go to his website, findmeinseattle.com, or obviously you can comment to him on the Facebook group as well. I'll go ahead and leave his comment information in the Facebook group so you have ways to get in touch with him. If you have any more detailed questions or if you want to work with Connor, definitely reach out. So for, now that we're wrapping up today, tomorrow's going to be a little bigger in terms of the amount of speakers that we'll have. We'll have a few more speakers. Today it was just me and Connor. Tomorrow we're going to dig into some branding stuff with John Johnson of A Small Studio. So if you are trying to figure out your brand voice or you're struggling with how to connect with your audience, they've worked with 40 plus companies being able to do that. And I've seen it real time, how they've transformed businesses from a space of not knowing what their word or their message is to actually understanding how to connect with their audience. So John Johnson, A Small Studio, branding. We're also going to have Joshua Dirks, who will build off of the foundational pieces that Connor touched on. He's a social media expert. He owns Project Bionic, which they've worked with some pretty big companies like Chrysler and GM and some of the local companies as well. Who are some other people? We're going to touch on some operational stuff. So right now, all of us have shifted to just working remotely. And I know that, although I'm used to it, I'm still having challenges like anybody else in terms of struggling with managing remote teams. And Diane Lamb is like the genius at being able to help, companies really manage their online and offshore teams. So she's going to break down some operational pieces for you. And then at the end of tomorrow, we're going to wrap up and start breaking into the SEO. If traffic is your issue and you're trying to figure out how to get traffic, Hike is going to break down the technical aspect of how you approach SEO. So thank you guys for joining. If you know anybody who wants to be a part of this or need to get some of this information, share the link, share the group with them, share the email, and I will see you guys tomorrow.